One day, while walking through the forest with his personal guards, Ahana saw a young woman. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her dark skin glowed under the sun, and her eyes were like the stars. I want her, Ahana said to his guard. The woman saw the hunger in his eyes and turned to run. But before she could escape, Ahana's guard grabbed her and held her down. She screamed and fought, but Ahana didn't care. He forced himself on her. Then suddenly, she stopped moving. Ahana froze. What's wrong with her? He asked, his voice shaking. The guard bent down and checked. She is no longer breathing, my prince, he whispered. Ahana's heart pounded. He hadn't meant to kill her. What if the villagers found out about this? What if his father found out? Without thinking, he dug a shallow grave and buried her. Then he and his guard ran off. But what Ahana didn't know was that two young maidens had seen everything that happened. Hidden behind the trees, they watched in horror. As soon as Ahana left, they ran to the grave and pulled out the woman, who was barely alive. We must take her home, one of them said. The other nodded. The king must know what had just happened. They lifted the woman onto their back and ran as fast as they could. The woman was not just any maiden. She was the princess of Eluma, a ruthless kingdom feared by all. Her father, King Ikenga, was known for his cruelty, and his warriors were stronger than any army in that land. When the maidens reached Eluma, the king ran to his daughter's side. His hands trembled as he touched her face. Who did this? He demanded. The maidens told him everything. King Ikenga clenched his fist, his body shaking with rage. He called for his medicine man. Save her, he ordered. Do whatever it takes to save my daughter. The medicine man tried his best, but it was too late. The princess opened her eyes one last time, grabbed her father's hand and whispered, Father, make them pay. Make Ebenano suffer. Then she closed her eyes, and that was it. The entire kingdom of Eluma roared in grief. Warriors pounded their chests. The king's son swore revenge. King Ikenga stood up, his face dark with fury. Take her body, he said to his warriors. Go to Ebenato, show them what they had done, and let them know this is only the beginning. The people of Ebenano were going about their day when they saw something strange. A group of warriors from Eluma land marched into the village, carrying a bamboo bed on their shoulders. Lying on it was the body of the princess, covered in white clothes. The warriors held palm fronds over their mouths as they walked in silence. A terrible fear gripped the kingdom. People whispered in panic. What does this mean? Why are they here? The king's guards rushed to the palace. Your Majesty, they said, something terrible has happened. King Obiozo hurried outside. His heart stopped when he saw the warriors. He called for the chief priest, who closed his eyes and listened to the spirit. When he opened them and spoke, the prince has brought war upon us, he said. Ahana's face went pale. That's a lie, he shouted. But it was too late for argument. A messenger arrived from Eluma. He carried only one message from King Ikenga. I will make your land desolate. Panic spread through Ebenato. The people knew they had no chance against Eluma. Their warriors were not strong enough. Their walls were not high enough. The king called for all the young men of the land. "We have no choice," he said. "We must fight, or they will kill us all." Men who had never held a sword were forced to train. Friends became warriors overnight. Among them were three close friends: Obinna, Chidi, and Chima. Obinna was different from the others. He was peaceful, kind, and loved playing the flute more than fighting. He was in love with Choma, a beautiful maiden from the village. But Choma's mother never liked him. When she heard that Obinna had been called to war, she smiled coldly. "It's a good thing," she said. "Maybe he will be the first to die. Then he will finally leave my daughter alone. He is poor and wretched." Choma cried. She begged Obinna not to go. "Let's run away," she pleaded. But there was nowhere to run to. Every path was blocked. The warriors of Ebenator guarded the roads, making sure no young man escaped. The war was coming, and there was no way to stop it. The kingdom of Ebenator was preparing for war, but they had no idea what the people of Eluma were planning already. Eluma's warriors were ruthless, and their revenge would be unlike anything Ebenator had ever seen. Obinna, once a peaceful man, had no choice but to take his training seriously. He understood it now. It was either kill or be killed. Choma, unable to stay away, continued sneaking out to visit him at the warriors' camp. Obinna's best friend, Chidi and Chima, were strong and well respected in the community, so they would stand and watch for him while he spent time with Choma. But one fateful night, everything changed. Choma arrived at the camp as usual, but Chidi, Chima, and Obinna were nowhere to be found. She looked around, confused, when suddenly a shadow loomed over her. It was Prince Ahanna. He smiled. "Who are you looking for, beautiful one?" Choma's stomach turned. She already knew what kind of man the prince was. I came to see Obinna," she said, stepping back. But the prince wasn't listening. His eyes darkened with the same hunger he had always had for women. He reached for her, his fingers coiled around her wrist. "Forget about Obinna. You are better off with me," he said. Choma yanked her hand away. "Let me go," she shouted. Anna's smile disappeared. His grip tightened. "You don't tell me what to do. I am your prince," he shouted back at her. Choma screamed. She screamed so loud that the entire camp could have heard her. Two warriors rushed out from the shadows, their hands on their sword. The prince saw them and hesitated. He scoffed, brushing off his clothes. "I was only playing with her," he said to them. Then, without another word, he walked away. Chioma's hands were shaking as she ran home without looking back. She was saved that day. The warriors watched him go, shaking their heads in despair. After everything that had happened, after all the suffering he had caused their land, the prince still hadn't learnt his lesson. That night, as the warriors of Ebenator were resting, disaster struck. Out of nowhere, the warriors of Eluma attacked. They came like shadows in the night, their blades cutting through the tents, slicing through men before they could even grab their weapons. The camp was thrown into chaos. Swords clashed, men screamed, blood splattered the ground. Obinna fought with all his strength. His training had paid off a bit, but the warriors of Eluma were monsters. Chima fought beside him, his swords flashing under the moonlight. Then, out of nowhere, An arrow came flying straight toward Obinna's chest. Chima saw it at the last moment. He lunged forward, pushing Obinna aside. The arrow sank deep into Chima's side. "No!" Obinna screamed, catching him as he stumbled. Chima gritted his teeth. "Keep fighting," he gasped. "I'll be fine," as the injury gushed out blood. But the battle wasn't truly about them. The warriors of Eluma weren't here to win a war that night. They were here for the prince. Anna tried to run, but there was nowhere to hide. The warriors of Eluma grabbed him, bound his hand, and dragged him away. By the time the battle ended, Ebenator's warriors lay wounded and broken. Many had died. Chima was barely holding on, his face pale with blood loss. Obinna stared at the ground, his body still trembling. If Chima hadn't saved him, he would have been the one bleeding out, or even dead. The warriors were still trying to recover when a scream cut through the silence. Everyone turned towards the sound. A warrior stood frozen, his eyes wide with horror. He pointed at something on the ground. Obinna and the others ran towards him. Then they saw it. Lying in the dirt was the body of Prince Ahanna. His head was missing. A few feet away, his severed head lay in the dust, his lifeless eyes staring into nothing. The warriors of Ebenator gasped in shock. Some turned away, others fell to their knees. Ahanna had brought this upon himself, but still, the sight of their prince murdered so brutally sent a wave of fear through the kingdom. The body was taken to the palace. When King Obiozo saw his son's severed head, he clutched his chest. His breathing became raged. Then, with one final gasp, he collapsed. The servants rushed to him, calling his name, but it was too late. The grief had shattered him. The king was dead. Ebenator fell into mourning. The king was gone. Their prince was gone. The kingdom had never felt so weak. But Eluma was not finished. Days after the funeral, the warriors of Eluma came again. This time, they did not come for revenge. They came to conquer. Their plan was simple: take over Ebenator, make its people slaves, and rule over them forever. But what they didn't know was that history was about to be made. Ebenator was broken. Their king was dead. Their warriors were weak in spirit. Fear gripped the land, and many had already accepted their fate: defeat and slavery under Eluma's ruthless rule. But then, in the midst of despair, a voice rose. It was Obinna, a man they had often overlooked, a warrior who had been seen as too gentle and weak. But now, as he stood before them, there was fire in his eyes. "If we give up now, our kingdom will fall," Obinna said. His voice was steady, but his words shook their soul. "If we don't fight, Eluma will kill us all. They will take our wives, our daughters, our mothers. They will burn our homes and erase our history. Is that the fate we want for ourselves and our children?" The warriors looked at each other, shame creeping into their hearts. Then Obinna stepped forward, his fist clenched. "As long as we live, Ebenator will not fall. Long live Ebenator." Slowly, one by one, the warriors nodded as they stood. They raised their sword, they would not surrender, as they responded, "Long live Ebenator." This time, they trained harder than ever. They dug underground tunnels and hid their pregnant women, their elders, their children, and their young maidens. Chioma and Chima, who was still badly injured, were among those hidden away. Before Obinna left for battle, Chioma grabbed his hand, tears in her eyes. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me you will come back alive to me." Obinna cupped her face, his thumb wiping away her eyes, her tears. "I swear to you, Chioma, I will return alive." She hugged him tightly, refusing to let go, but he gently pulled away. With one last glance at her, he turned and walked into the battlefield. Chioma fell to her knees, praying to the gods to protect him. The warriors of Eluma marched into Ebenator, confident that they would finish what they had started. But this time, Ebenator was ready for them. As Eluma's warriors approached, they triggered hidden traps, pits filled with sharpened stakes, falling boulders, and poisoned arrows shot from the shadows. Before they could even set foot in Ebenator, a quarter of their men were already dead. Then the real battle began. The warriors of Ebenator fought like men possessed, like wounded beasts defending their homes. Their swords flashed, their arrows flew, their spears found their marks. Obinna fought beside Chidi, cutting through enemy after enemy. Blood soaked the ground, but they did not stop. The warriors of Ebenator were unstoppable. The battle raged on, but soon it became clear that Ebenator was winning. The remaining warriors of Eluma, now few and frightened, turned and fled. But the warriors of Ebenator were not done. With a roar of victory, they chased after the fleeing enemy, cutting them down one by one. By the time the sun set, Ebenator stood victorious as they shout and hug themselves in victory. The war was over. The people of Ebenator gathered to honor their fallen and celebrated their victory. But now, there was a new problem. They had no king. Their elders gathered to decide who would rule. And it was clear the next king had to be the one. The next king had to be the one of the warriors who had saved their land, the strongest among them all, the one who led them to victory. And that warrior was Chidi. The day of the coronation arrived. The people of Ebenator filled the palace ground, excited to see their new ruler crowned. Chidi sat on the royal seat while Obinna and Chima stood beside him. But then, something unexpected happened. As the crown was about to be placed on his head, Chidi suddenly stood and gently pushed Obinna forward. Obinna frowned. "Chidi, what are you doing?" Chidi only smiled. Then he looked at Chima, who was also smiling. "It was never mine to begin with," Chidi said. "The battle strategy, the traps, the underground hiding, all of it was your idea, Obinna. You saved Ebenator. You are the true king of Ebenator." Obinna's eyes widened. He looked around, expecting the warriors to object, but instead, they all nodded in agreement as they smiled. Then the elder stepped forward. "Obinna, son of Ebenator, the people had spoken." Tears welled up in Obinna's eyes. He had never once thought of himself as a ruler. He had always been the humble boy who played the flute, the man who had loved peace, the orphan who had known nobody. But today, he was something else. Today, he was the king of Ebenator. As the golden crown was placed upon his head, the people of Ebenator bowed before him. Then in one voice, they all shouted, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" Chidi and Chima smiled, standing protectively by his side. But far away in the dark halls of Eluma kingdom, their defeated enemies nursed their wounds. Their king sat upon his throne, his face twisted with rage, and in a voice filled with hatred, he growled, "It is not over, Ebenator.